Spiritual Bond. Episode 1. New Beginnings. When her grandma had told her to go find her room, Quill took that as a challenge to go exploring. What else was she going to do with her summer? Not everyone got to pack their bags for a new location, especially one as extravagant as this. How her grandma got her hands on a Victorian mansion, she'd never know. But that didn't mean she wouldn't take advantage of it. Now, she was reaching the top of the house. In hindsight, lugging her suitcase up the winding stairs wasn't the best idea. But let it be known that Quill Taylor wasn't a quitter. Settling for a room downstairs to camp in would have been cowardly. Despite her labored breaths, she was at her new favorite destination that she decided mere seconds ago, the attic. Leaning her suitcase against the wall, she moved in towards the attic's door. She opened it, and the room was dark. Dust scattered in the light from the hall outside. Quill noted a window on the far side of the room, but it was so fogged up with dirt and grime that it barely counted as a window anymore. Delicately, she stepped inside. Quill didn't fear that something would come out and attack her. She treaded carefully because it was as if the room hadn't been touched in a century. In the middle of the room, on the floor, Quill noticed a small box, no longer than her forearm. Going over to inspect it, she realized that it was the only object in the room not caked with dust. Sticking out of the box were a number of antennas at varying lengths, the longest one extending about 2 feet above it. Quill had to admit she was curious. It was like some weird combination of an old radio and an anachronistic Wi-Fi router. Not knowing what else to do, she reached down to pick up the box to inspect it further. Quill quickly pulled back as a shock went up her fingers, from her hands, all the way up to her arms. Before she could even get her bearings, the box exploded in sparks and light, knocking her off her feet. "What?" she breathed. Next came the wind. The surrounding dust spiraled high to the ceiling, like a tornado. The force of the wind pushed her back further. Her brain was telling her to look away, to protect herself from the electricity and the light and the dust, but she couldn't look away from the chaos. For from the chaos came a man. He floated above the machine, in the center of the whirlwind, his eyes closed, his face serene. His dark, curly hair was a tousled mess in the wind, contrasting his neat attire, a burgundy waistcoat over a white and puffy dress shirt. What caught Quill's attention most was his legs, or, rather, his lack thereof. Everything below his waist sort of just fizzled out, like he was rising from smoke. Gradually, the wind died down, and the man gently floated downwards in front of the machine, where he unceremoniously collapsed. Quill was too shaken to go to his aid, but before she even considered it, he immediately pushed himself up to a sitting position. "Well," said the man, "that was quite the shock." The sparks disappeared, as if reacting to his words. "Didn't know you had it in you, old fellow." He stood, or at least what Quill equated to standing, concerning his lack of opaque legs. The man didn't seem to notice. "Now, let's see if you gave me some good readings. If only I had something to write with." Looking around the room, he turned around, eyes landing on Quill. They both froze. "Who are you?" said the man. In his presence, Quill suddenly forgot how words worked. "If you can't tell me, at least leave at once," he said. "There's no reason for strangers to be intruding on my property." "What? Your property?" There were the words. "This is my grandma's house. She's lived here for years." "Your grandmother? I'm not aware of anyone else but me residing here." "I don't know, man. She's lived here since the 1980s. Not sure where you've been." "Wait," he interrupted. "Did you say the 1980s? "Yes." "Are you taking me for a fool? That's the future." Quill was about to shout back, no, that was actually the past, but she stopped herself. She took another good look at the man. While he was dressed stylishly, it was certainly outdated. What kind of self-respecting guy sported a mustache these days? And his odd, smoky, meandering legs. He still hadn't noticed them. And how could someone not notice they were floating? Why was he so old-fashioned and translucent? She put two and two together. "Oh my God," she gasped. "You're a ghost." "What? That's preposterous." Quill wasn't listening. "I am standing in front of a real-life ghost. This is incredible. My friends will never believe this." The man, ghost's patience, was wearing thin. "Quiet! There's no such thing as spirits. They are but old wives' tales." He leaned over her. "Now, if you would so kindly leave..." His breath hitched. Quill followed his eyes downward, to his legs. He finally noticed. "What? Where?" He spun around in an attempt to see his whole body. "Face it, dude. You're a ghost," said Quill. The ghost turned back towards Quill. "I am most certainly not. This is just a trick of the light. Besides, even if we pretend spirits are real for a second, that would mean that I am dead, which I am not. How do you know you're alive?" "What kind of question is that? I am interacting with you, no? I'm interacting with the world around me. Last time I checked, that is something only the living can do." Quill paused. Then her face lit up. She plopped herself back onto her feet. "You know what? I'm sorry. I think we've started off on the wrong foot. Do over." She held out a hand. "Name's Quill. What's your name?" The ghost looked between Quill and her hand and apprehensively extended his as well. "Elliot. Joseph A. Elliot." He looked like he had more to say, but was stopped by his hand not connecting with the handshake. In fact, Elliot's hand simply phased through Quill's. He tried a couple more times, each phase sending shivers down Quill's spine. Shook the cold off. "Interacting with the world around you, Elliot stared at his hands, dazed. This isn't real." "I think it is," said Quill. He sunk to the floor. "I'm dead." "Yeah." There was silence after that. Quill felt a little guilty. She had gotten so focused on being right that winning the argument might not have been the happiest option. She was young. She had a whole life ahead of her. Death wasn't at the forefront of her mind, and it clearly wasn't at Elliot's either. She had forced it upon him. Quill felt it was time to make her exit. Sneaking her way towards the door, she made her footsteps as silent as possible. Then, as she entered the hallway, she let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding and turned to shut the door, only to find Elliot floating in the doorway, deep in thought. She waited for him to say, or do something, but it didn't come. "What's up?" she asked. "Huh?" He blinked. "Oh, what? How did I..." He took a breath. "Apologies. I didn't intend to follow you out. Go about your business. I wish to be alone for a while." "Of course." Nodding, she picked up her suitcase that she left in the hall and headed back towards the stairs. Quill contemplated telling her grandma about the ghost that suddenly appeared in the attic, but knowing her, "Hey! What's going on?" Quill whirled back around to find Elliot a few feet away from her. She tilted her head. "Why are you..." "I'm not doing this of my own volition, I swear," he exclaimed. "Something is pulling me towards you." Quill took a step back. Elliot floated forwards a couple inches. Quill took a step forward. Elliot floated backwards a couple inches. "I see," said Quill, satisfied with her experiment. "Seems like you're stuck with me." "Stuck?" he cried. "I can't be stuck. I have better things to do than to be attached to a young boy." "Girl," corrected Quill. She did think that last haircut made her look boyish. "What better things will you do? You're a ghost, remember?
Elliot's face flickered with rage, but he sighed. Unfortunately, you have a point. I would rather not be forcefully tethered, though.
Well, I can't really control it either, said Quill. But I don't think it's so bad. When was the last time you got out of this house?
Ages ago, surely.
Think of the new things you could see.
I suppose.
See? That's the spirit.
I changed my mind. This will be abysmal.
Quill hid her smile as she twirled to face the rest of the house. The two of them walked and floated away from the attic, not knowing what they'd see next. But whatever it was, Quill hoped that it would be the time of her life. To be continued in the next episode of Spiritual Bond.